Hi, girlfriend.
Hi.
I understand that yesterday you were listening to the podcast that we recorded previously called Weaving Blankets, and ideas had come to mind, or you had memories of another experience that you thought was important to share.
Yes, when Trevor came home from working away after 4 years, things had changed a bit without either of us realising it. Really, I'd grown because I run a little business and I was running the home on my own. The kids had grown, were growing up, and everything was all lovely, lovely. And it was like Trevor coming in as a spare part. But after the experience of losing him and everything that you go through with, your mates gone and you're here alone bringing up a family of kids and stuff, I had this experience. I was in the house and I was hoovering away. I got the music all going and all of a sudden I'd stopped and it was like somebody was talking to me and said, "What's the most important thing in your life?" And I thought, "What?" And it happened again. "What's the most important thing in your life?" And I thought about it and I thought, from where I've come from the energy of love, the energy of life, that is the most important thing in my life. And then I was asked, from there on, how it went, sort of thing. I don't like talking about this much because it sounds like I'm running him down, but I'm not. It was part of my experience, I think.
Right.
And the next most important thing in my life was me because I've been given the opportunity to come to experience and grow. And then Trevor, and the children came after. And it was as if I hadn't realised it. It was as if I was sort of slanted and I came upright and I'd got it, And I think I'd been tested because of the other things that I started to experience about colour and all kinds of things that started coming in. And I think I was tested to see if I was ready to be able to take on this part of life, really. And not long after that, I think it may have been a couple of days, the phone goes, it's Trevor, and, can I come home? And first of all, I wasn't sure because I didn't want, any big problems with having to finish it all again. It was too painful. And so I gave it a night. And in the morning, I was up and I was round where he was staying and we had a talk and I agreed for him to come home. And so there was sort of two lessons there. One was um, me growing up and taking on responsibilities for myself and for my spiritual journey, and also how important Trevor was in my life to me. It was a harsh experience, but at the same time, it was an amazing experience to think that I'd been given the privilege of being tested,
Wow.
and bringing that reality of how I feel about the spiritual realms and the Father of Life himself. And that it was, yeah, it was quite magical in a sense.
Going to add a little bit of information for people who might not know the story as well as I do. Trevor had been away for 4 years for work, and it's during that time that you felt that you were able to experience all of who you were to be with the spiritual realm. Because he wasn't part of the picture, you were able to concentrate on yourself and your spirituality. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I suppose that's where it's at. Because if Trevor had been home, it would have been family stuff and all that. I mean, family stuff happens, but it was once a month when he was coming home, or sometimes if he was really, really feeling the pinch about being away from home, he'd come home. Like, always loved to see him, but he just felt as though he wasn't part of the family. Yeah, it wasn't true. It wasn't so. He was big, well, he was a major part of the family, but that's how he felt. And it was nothing to do with my beliefs or anything like that. It was just life, But I do believe he was taken out of the picture and I was left bare. And I had to decide then and there where I was at, you know.
And that's the test you're talking about.
This is the test. It was, yeah, it was like a rude awakening, really.
A little bit like, the test being, are you grounded? Are you strong enough in your spirituality that now it's okay for you to have the strength to or the ability to have your spirituality and Trevor in your life full time?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was either I had to be. I was tested about my strengths really, and I mean, because I'm very, very honest where spiritual stuff and boy, me in general, I'm a an honest person. But I had to be honest with myself and look at myself and see where I was at.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it was. Now I look at it and I think, how lucky was I? How lucky was I? But at the time, I didn't feel very lucky. I lost my best friend. I just couldn't believe that he'd gone. It was awful, awful. So I understand loss of your friend, and also when they pop off to the spiritual realms, and you're left high and dry.
And this is another thing that I love about you. A lot of
Mm,
people are tested and they can't see past that. You see it as an opportunity to grow. And
mm,
you feel blessed that you were given an opportunity to be tested. And that's a
mm.
testament to the kind of person that you are, which is one of the reasons that I love you so much.
Thank you.
Er, Another thing that you had said that you'd been tested on was when you were feeling inferior.
Yeah, when we spoke about me looking for answers with the spiritual stuff, I belonged to this group, and most of them were very intelligent people, university stuff and books that I just couldn't understand, and it really worried me. I thought I'm never going to be catch up with these people. I'm never going to be able to, you know, understand the stuff that they were dealing with. And I had this dream all in that time. I found myself in this place. It was like a big church. There was all pews, and there was people sitting in the pews, all dressed casually, like loose garments, like white. All most of them were in white, and they were sitting there. And as I looked at the walls, they were all full of bookshelves with books. And the more I looked at them, the higher the building sort of seemed to be like, and it was all full of books, a beautiful old library. And somebody said to me, "What do you see?" So I said, "Well, I can see all the books on the walls and people sitting there just sitting." And they said, "No, what do you really see?" So I said, "Well, books, and they're growing, and people sitting in pews and just sitting there." And somebody said, "Just take another look, because these people are not reading the books; they're absorbing the knowledge by just being." And it was like as if somebody was saying, "This is what you can do.
Mm.
You can absorb the knowledge by living life." And some of the places you might go, you might learn. There's different ways of learning, in other words. It doesn't have to be in books. No, it can be just meeting somebody and talking. It can be you go to a place, and the building and the stuff that's in the building gives you knowledge, if you like, about a particular thing.
And you have received a lot of your knowledge through nature.
Nature and dreams, and
Mm.
also people, meeting different people, working with B&B, bed and breakfast. I met people from all over the world, apart from this country, and I met some really interesting people. And of course, conversation is had, and you learn that way by each other, talking to each other. So it doesn't all have to be solitary and reading a book.
And also to mention again, I think it's important to say that you are also severely dyslexic. So reading has always been a challenge for you
Yeah, I do read sometimes, but sometimes I'll have a little read and I think, I can't be bothered.
because it's work for you, right? Reading is
Yeah,
difficult.
reading is hard work for me sometimes. So I'm quite happy to do what I do, jogging along, and but to get it the way I do by experiences in meditation and just life. It doesn't have to come out of books.
Doesn't have to come out of books. And you also had
No.
a few stories about trees. Trees have played an important role in
Oh
your learning
goodness,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, well, I'm a great lover of nature. I feel for nature. especially if I'm walking and it's a lovely day and I'm listening out and I hear the birds singing or the bees buzzing and it all is at peace. I feel when I'm walking like in the countryside. I'm lucky enough. I live in a beautiful country place. I think, yeah, going back to when I was a little girl, I used to, I lived in the lane and it was a long lane, but my school was in the lane, so I didn't have to deviate or go, leave the lane. And on the way to school, and especially on the way home from school, when I had a little bit more time, I'd go past a nursery, and outside the nursery grew these three beautiful trees. And the last one had a hole in it. It was quite a deep hole, and it was my height. And I used to go to that tree, and there'd be little stones in there that I'd put in there. They were fairies, and I'd talk to the fairy folk, and have a little game there and chat away, and then off I'd skip going home. But this one particular day, I was coming home from school, and I thought, oh, so I'll go to the tree. So I goes to, I can't think what trees they were. Horse chestnut trees. So they were big and strong, big trees. So I've gone to the tree and I'm starting to talk to the fairy folk, and I lost myself. I lost myself. I don't know how long for. It might have been minutes. It could have been even longer. And then I came back. All of a sudden, I thought, "Where have I been? Where have I been?" Like, and I must have been about 7, 8, or 9, round about that age. And it did freak me out a little bit. Like, I thought, "Oh dear." Gathered myself together and off I went home. Yeah, I thought that was quite lovely. I'm sure that old tree knew me, 'cause, every night and I'll stroke the bark and chat away, and, I'm sure there must have been little fairy folk floating around there.
I think it's amazing that you can remember something that happened over 75 years ago with such clarity.
Yeah, well, it was like looking at a picture book. You remember pictures, you remember paintings. It's a similar sort of thing for me.
Mm.
And then, um, another experience I had was, I was meditating one day and it was lunchtime. And the little bungalow that I lived in, it had beautiful energy because I used to meditate every week with a group of people. So gradually the energy built up, and it was very peaceful, and it could become quite a spiritual place. And this after lunch, and I was standing there and I put a bit of meditation music on, um, piece that I very often used to use, and I closed my eyes and I was looking towards the garden. I had French windows and French doors, and I was standing there and I'd started to go into a meditation. Then all of a sudden, I felt an arrow by the side of me, waist high. I could see it. It had all jewels in it. All of it was beautiful. It was shining, and there was different colours like rubies and sapphires and all that sort of. So it was all different colours, and in the I don't know what you'd call it, the stick, or I don't know, the arrow anyway. And so I see this arrow, and then all of a sudden, somebody said to me, "Follow the arrow." So in my mind, I went through the French doors and off, and I found myself in a most beautiful valley. It was different shades of green, and it was up and down, like there was hills and meadows, and I see myself going quite fastly towards a hill, a small hill, and on top of that hill was one singular tree, a little tree. And as we were coming down, uh, um, going into the earth, the arrow going into the earth, I was saying, "Please don't hit the tree," because I could feel the life force of that little tree. And the arrow didn't. It went down near the tree. And then I arrived there and I stood there and I'm looking down the valley, and Trevor came to mind. And it was as if he was saying to me, "This is where I come when I think about home, about, where you and the children are." And then it was back. And it was absolutely beautiful, because I've remembered it. You only remember things that are beautiful to you. I mean, of course, you do remember harsh things as well, but when I'm talking about meditating or having spiritual experiences,
Uh,
Usually it's something that's been special.
and just to clarify, Trevor had transitioned at this time. He was in the spirit world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it was in the spirit world. Because some of the things I'm talking to you about are when I first moved to the country.
Right.
Yeah. So, and what else? Was there any others about?
You had talked about another tree story that I remember was the jade tree.
Oh, yeah. In my story that I was writing, I'd learnt quite a bit about colour. So I used to walk along a river with my little dog. And this particular morning, I was out and I was walking down by the river. There was nobody about, only myself. And then you sort of turn a bend and you go down through the like a wood towards the coast. And that's the part of the river that I was on. I'd passed the river and I was going through the woods, and there was nobody about. And then all of a sudden, a young man come towards me. It was as if he was in slow motion, as he had a beautiful stride. He was tall and slim. He didn't look at me at all. He just come, and as he passed me, I stood back and allowed him to pass. But he was green. I was been thinking about the story, a little story that I was writing, and I was bringing in colour, and everything was green that I was seeing. I was seeing, and I was. It was as if part of this book was done while meditating. And as he went past, and I followed him with my eyes, I followed him, and he was all green, and the trees were. Oh, where they were all around, the woods were all around, and but that was quite special. But I used to walk through the woods when I was having some of these experiences. Another wood, a different wood, and I could very often see the energy on the trees. As I looked up, and they'd be shimmering. Like energy would be shimmering around them, and you'll often see me give a little hug to a tree, a little stroke, and because I love trees, full stop. But at the same time, I do know that they are living things, and I think there's a tremendous intelligence there as well. With all nature, there is. And if only everybody felt that way, to stop for a minute and take note of what's around them, I'm sure it would be a much happier place because I don't think this world is very happy at the moment. Not at all.
Wouldn't it be great if the whole world just went for a walk in the forest?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. For themselves and honoured themselves. Some people get lost and wrapped up in somebody who's got money and they, sort of worship the ground that they walk on and all this. But it's about themselves, really. They have this capability of being beautiful. We are all beautiful. We're all part of the same energy. We are all one. All of us are one. We come from the same place, and we all go back to the same place, and we're all here to learn, whether it be a harsh lesson or whether it be a lovely lesson. You know, that's what we're here to do, is to learn.
Absolutely. What do you think the trees
Mm.
have to teach us?
Well, I mean, they give us life force, don't they? And the air that we breathe is all part and parcel of Mother Nature and trees. Look at the power. I mean, one garden I sometimes go to. I haven't been there this year, but it's not far from where I live. And when I come out of the gardens itself, sometimes I'll take a different route coming home. And there's a field, and it's got a couple of these old oak trees, but
Mm.
real old English oak. And they're massive, they're wide. It's like looking at a big, wide African elephant. They're big and they're short, but they're big. Not like the Indian elephant. He's tall and powerful, but the African elephant is big. And these trees, when I first see them, I thought, goodness me, how beautiful they were. But also getting back to the Green Man, um, in the story, you go down a lane and I go through a gate, and there's a big oak tree there. And on the floor, I noticed that they're acorns, but they're not, they're emeralds. I pick one up and it turned into an emerald. And they had a magicness about this story that I was seeing, like bringing into life through meditation and that.
I just want to clarify that green tree experience. So you saw the green man. He was a spirit person. He wasn't a physical person.
Hmm.
There was green everywhere around you. The acorns became emeralds. So that was an experience that you lived through that you then put into a story.
Yeah, yeah, it was sort of entwined, you
Right.
know?
So as you're meditating, walking through the woods, this came to you almost like nature told you what you needed to experience and gave you a little tidbit of what could go into your story.
Yeah, and how precious colour is, really. And walking back down the river, not on that particular day, but I used to walk down the river a lot, and I was walking along, and I went a bit further than what I normally go. I'm walking along, and then my eyes went to the right, and I looked, and I thought, "Oh, goodness me, there's that tree." The tree that I'd seen with the emeralds, it was there in the field, and it even looked like it got a little door, you know. And I just smile to myself because sometimes when I see things, I think it's just I'm just getting it through meditation and fantasizing. But very often these things are there. I might not see them at the same that time. Yeah, going on. I very often see them.
When
Mm.
you say they're there, again, energetically, because not everybody sees what you see.
No, yeah,
So when
sorry.
you tell a story sometimes, it's tricky to follow how much of it is physical, how much of it is spiritual, but that's because it's all intertwined for you.
Yeah,
It's often not one or the other. Um, and because you've lived this has just been this way you have lived your life your whole life, whether it be a solid tree or an energetic tree, they're all the same to you.
yeah, yeah. Sounds like I'm away with the fairies, doesn't it?
I've known you long enough now, like, we've been talking weekly
Uh,
for, 10 years almost.
yeah,
So, I mean, I know the stories, but I also know that the listeners might not understand 100% that sometimes it's physical and sometimes it's spiritual. In your mind, they're intertwinable, but in someone
yeah.
like me, I might not always see the energy the way that you see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I'm talking to you about memory that's in my head.
Right.
Um, it's not a collective memory with other people. I'm sure a few of my friends thinks I was nuts.
And are you?
Sometimes, yeah, yeah, I think I might be.
But seriously though, do you ever get confused between the 2? The 2 worlds?
No, no, no. Sometimes I find myself like when I watched that green young chap run past me, I thought it was in my mind, like, because I was writing this story and I was gathering information through looking at nature and that. I'd be walking and I'd see something and I'd think, oh, I'll put that in my story. But I'd bring that plant alive. I'd give it energy in my thoughts and bring it alive. That's what I used to do. And this young man, I thought he was real when he was coming towards me, and as he went past, and he was streaming, the green was streaming off of him. I thought, no, he weren't. He was spirit. It was a spiritual thought.
So sometimes when you say, I didn't know if it was in my mind, so that's your fantasy mind. You're wondering if it's your fantasy mind. And then you realize
Yes.
that it's real, but real could be spiritual or physical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
I absolutely understand. I do think that being a therapist, a lot of mental illnesses are people experiencing what you are experiencing, but don't have the filter to know the difference.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
always been my belief.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I suppose I just got such a love for nature. I see nature as we all should see her, natural and very much alive.
Mm.
It's not just there. You're not looking at a painting. You're looking at the real thing, and it's very much alive. I know. Everything is not beautiful because we there are some things in nature that are quite cruel, but that's all part of us having to learn about these things. Like we're here to learn. So things have been put in front of us. Beautiful things, harsh things, difficult. How am I going to manage this?
So, as much as nature has lessons for us, you've always told me how much love nature has for us.
Absolutely. Well, it's to see to me, it's the seeing Lord of Light, God, or whatever you like to name it, the superior being. this is very much the seeing side. It's like, as I said to you before, when we was talking about colour, when we see pink in the mornings as the sun comes up, and when it goes down in the evening, I mean, it's just all the sky can be a light. And I just know it comes from the source. It's love that's being given to us as we go about our business, learning and gathering information to take that back to the source, you know. But one of the hardest things, I think, is loving one another, because if you're on a track and you've got a kind heart and you come across somebody who's very cold and is not so kind, it's very difficult to love that person. But he's part of, the journey that we're all doing. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, putting the pieces together. When we put everything together, we'll realise how beautiful life is and how beautiful we are because we are part of God. Even, some of the harsh characters that are about, they are part of the whole.
And I agree with you when I mean, we can philosophically say we are more alike than we are different. We all come from the same source. But when you have very ugly people in the world, it's not easy to embrace that philosophy.
Now, I know. I know. I was talking to somebody one day who was coming round the doors and doing a bit of preaching, and I happened to mention Hitler. And I said, he is part of us all. And this person didn't like what I was saying, but I said, he comes from the source. And look at the lessons that were learned during that terrible, terrible time of war. But look at the lessons. Look how many people, went about not thinking about themselves, but helping to others survive. People who were starving, who people got them food and hid them away at their own cost, There was lots of wonderful things that came out of something that was absolutely awful. And it was up to us to see what we could learn by those experiences. It's an hard one, isn't it? I think the thing we must do is stand back and just take everything in and then react. The trouble is we all react straight away without giving it a thought of what we're doing or, how it's going to affect others. Or I think that's what we need to do as part of all of us growing.
So tell me a little bit more about that with the state of the nation right now around the world. What would that look like to just stand back? So, what are the reactions that you're seeing that maybe shouldn't be held back?
I think maybe give it a little bit more thought to some of these people that have escaped somewhere that is awful. I mean, if you look at Gaza at the moment, how terrible that is, all the homes that have been destroyed, families, loss of brothers and sisters and mothers and grannies and aunts and, uncles. People say, oh, they deserve it and all these. Think, "Oh, no, nobody deserves that. Nobody does." And just stand back and just giving it a thought of what these souls are really going through. It's and then they run away to find something, a new place to bring their little children up, maybe, and that. And then people get frightened because these people are all invading your country, and you're thinking, oh God, But you got to stand back and think, what would I do if I was in that same position? But equally, the people that are escaping have got to realise that the countries that they're going to are totally different to what they've lived in. And they've got to there's a lesson for them to, take on board what these people, how they live. And you've got to try and fit in with those people of that country that's, hosting you. You've got to think how you've got to change. Because to me, religion is old fashioned. We don't need it. We're quite grown up enough to take on board our own ideas, of what life is and so forth. We don't have to have somebody standing there with different dress on, like lots of religions, the bloke up the front who's giving you a lecture. You just listen to what he's got to say. And if you don't agree with it, then discard it. Listen to your own heart, listen to your own voice, and listen to nature, because she's the one who will teach you more than anything.
Well, On that note, you are a ray of sunshine for us, Alice.
God, how much you want to borrow? I mean, all that I speak of is through experiences, really. But you got to remember, it's my thoughts. It's what I believe in. It doesn't come from any religious group or anything. It comes from me, what I've learned, maybe by going to the little church that I've frequented. But it'd be what I've made my mind up. What I believe. It's not come from somebody else pumping it into me.
Right. I've made my mind up, damn it, and here I am, 84 years old.
Absolutely, yeah. When I see some of these beautiful spiritual beings, they don't come in and look at me and say, "This near you, this is what you got to think. This is how it is." They don't do that at all. They're just
Right.
there encouraging.
Do you have a visitor?
I don't know what spiritual one.
Okay, girlfriend, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you again for your wisdom and your thoughts.
I would say before we go, for anybody who does hopefully listen to us, our little pod, it's done with love. And also just think about yourself. Don't think about the outside person. Think about what you think and feel and how you see it as. It'd be interesting to find out what other people feel, not via a group that they've been to, but coming from their own selves, their own heart.
And there is a way that they could let you know what they think. And I was also wondering if you're okay with this, Alice, that if people want to know your opinion on something specific, would it be okay to ask?
I can ask, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be asking them what they think.
Right.
And yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, girlfriend.
Yeah. Good night. God bless.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, rightio.